Welcome to WGTV Today. I'm Kim Best, your host, and I'm excited today to have two musicians with me today that are sharing the news of Connecting Crossroads. They are visiting the state of North Carolina, and let's hear what they've got to say. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So I hear you've been to Goldsboro High School today.
We have, and the Wayne School of Engineering. We had 2 assemblies this morning. It was a great bunch of kids.
So did you have a full house over there?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did.
A lot of energy in that room.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Now tonight you have something else that you're offering our community, don't you?
Sure.
Yes, it's the album called The Collide. It's 12 songs that Laurelyn Dossett and I have composed. We'll have a quintet of musicians, and we'll also have a few local and regional artists joining us as an opening act for the formal concert.
Well, tell me about yourselves. If you would, tell us your names and tell us how this project began and how it all came together.
Sure. Well, you were in on the beginning of the project.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Bernard Roumain. I'm a composer, performer, and a proud small business owner from Harlem in New York City. I was invited by North Carolina State University to consider a project that could tour the state. And instead of doing the thing that a composer would normally do, touring a string quartet or a smaller ensemble, I decided I wanted to work with a North Carolina-based singer-songwriter, create and compose and co-write about a dozen songs, record them in North Carolina, and then tour them throughout the state. And that's exactly what we've been doing. That's what we've done. It's been very successful. Along with the album, I'd always envisioned an opening act comprised of local artists to talk about the unique and timely and relevant aspect of our collaboration. So by extension, inviting local and regional artists to collaborate with us in some cases, but also to express themselves and to do whatever it is that they wanted to do in response to our work. And we've had everything from 165 string players on the stage in East Carolina University in Greenville, to a wonderful musical theater group doing excerpts from The Color Purple, the musical, in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Was that at UNCW?
Correct. And here we'll have a couple of principals who will be playing music with us and some of their students. And
we don't mean principal violinists, we mean the principals of the high school.
The high school?
Principals of the high school.
Yeah,
what a unique twist.
Yes, they're both going to come play with us tonight. It's
That's
going to be
exactly
really
right.
fun.
Wow,
Exactly right.
wow. Well, tell me about yourself before we get into the meat of this. If you'll tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am a singer-songwriter. I live in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I started in that part of my career later. I'd done some other jobs, and I have 3 grown daughters. I've started out with a band called Polecat Creek, and then got into writing for theater with Triad Stage. Recently did a big collaboration with the North Carolina Symphony. And about 2 years ago, I got a call from some folks at the North Carolina Arts Council telling me about Daniel and about the idea for this project, and asked if I might want to join them. And as I've done all along, something will come up and I'll go, well, I've never done that before.
And each one is very unique.
Yeah, and I try to say yes to things that'll really challenge me and stretch me and that are new ground. And so, we started talking on the phone, and we did finally get together and start working in January, about 11 months ago. So the intensive part of it has been in this year, this calendar year.
Well, what is unique about these songs? I hear that there are very unique things that are happening throughout the state, and these songs will be evidence of that.
Well, the songs are a composer and a singer-songwriter's response to the things happening in the state. As everyone knows, your state is in the midst of changes politically, demographically, and the relationship between, let's say, new ideas and old ideas is in collision.
Yes.
That said, I think each community in the state has its own unique tensions, but also has its own unique beauty.
Absolutely.
And the differences between Laurelyn and I are pretty obvious and evident. As I like to say, the art lies in the things that we share in common. So many of the songs on the album have to do with these kind of aesthetics, these things that are poorly defined or ill-defined. And there are songs in the album, the titles tell you a lot. Fall to the Sea has to do with the relationship of the east coast of North Carolina to the ocean. And not only the devastation, but the people's allegiance to everything that is good and everything that is problematic with living near the ocean. And every song in the album has its own unique quality and aspect to what is unique and I think very important about North Carolina.
And you've spent time here. Well, of course, you've lived here for many years, but you've spent time here, so you've gotten to know our area and our state by traveling across. And tell me some of the places that you've performed and been throughout this year.
Sure. Well, there are 5 universities involved. So Appalachian State, Davidson, NC State, where we are this week, ECU, and Wilmington are the 5 universities. And then Goldsboro or Wayne County is a satellite of the NC State program, and we spent a day in Ashe County when we were up in Boone. So there's 7 presenters altogether.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you are getting to know our
we've
state.
been mountains to see.
Yeah,
That's
sounds
right.
like it.
Back and forth a couple times.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. Well, tell me about your musical backgrounds, what instruments you play, who inspired you, how you got in the business.
Sure. Oh, okay.
Whatever take you want to go with that.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, I play the guitar mainly because it's the easiest thing to play while I'm also singing. So
Right.
I'm more of a singer-songwriter than I am an instrumentalist. And I got into that in my mid-30s. I had been a singer all through my childhood and stopped to work and raise a family. And I was just missing having music in my life. And I didn't plan for it to be a job, but I did get serious about it fairly quickly, and it ended up being a better job than the one I already had.
Wow.
So that is how
It's
I
funny
ended
what
up.
doors will open.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened. So and it's been really fun, and I really every day wake up going, wow, what a great job I have, and have had all kinds of experiences that I couldn't have imagined. So it's really been a great second career, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Well, Daniel, how about you?
I started playing the violin when I was 5 years old. Over the years, I started playing about 25, 26 different instruments
My goodness.
as a composer. I have a doctorate from the University of Michigan in music composition and theory, and I moved to New York City about 15 years ago. I also own a townhome in Boston. I'm raising a son, co-parenting a son there, and he also spends time with me in Harlem in New York City. And I've always made my living, and I've been playing professionally since I was probably about 12, 13 years old. And
Goodness,
I've
12 or 13 years old.
Sure, I mean,
How
well,
unusual. Wow.
well, in South Florida at the time, there were a lot of 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds playing out in clubs and, probably doing things they shouldn't have been doing.
But
making music, yes. And we all went to the same performing arts high school. We all went either to New York City or to some college, so on and so forth. I actually went to Vanderbilt in Nashville, Tennessee for my undergraduate. But the last 15 years I've been in New York City as a professional musician, as a professional composer. Lots of different collaborations with Bill T. Jones, Philip Glass, Savion Glover, the photographer Jonathan Mannion, DJ Spooky, so on and so forth. This is a very important collaboration as well. And I'm privileged. I like to say I'm a victim of privilege, in that as a small business owner, as someone who has a production company that is supporting my work, I have the ability to be vitally involved in the production and the coming together of these different performing arts entities into a coalition. And this is very important. I think artists are not always taken as seriously.
Absolutely.
If they talk about economics, if they talk about well, the production side of their craft. But this has always been the case, certainly for classical music, certainly for commercial artists, but specifically for classical composers. Ockeghem, John Dunstable, Beethoven, Stravinsky, Schoenberg, now John Adams, Steve Reich, they're all intimately involved in the business aspects of their craft. And I say that because I think we're at a time in our country where the performing arts are seen as a luxury,
Right.
something that can be cut, something that isn't vital. And by vital, I mean something that has real economic gravitas and sustainability and contribution. This is critical, actually, to what's happening to your arts funding in this
You're
state.
exactly right.
Right? So I'm being purposeful as defining myself for this project, lest we forget. We are composers, singers, songwriters, we are performers, and we are both small business owners that pay our taxes and contribute to
And
the
employ a lot of other people.
Yes, and contribute to the financial sustainability of this great state. And this particular project has done very well economically and has reached a lot of children simultaneously.
Wow. Well, talking about children and youth that have these dreams and these aspirations of being musicians themselves, what would you say to them? What would be your words of wisdom to youth that want to aspire to be like you both?
Well, a young lady actually approached me today after one of the concerts and was asking that exact thing. And for her, she's a guitar player and a singer, and she's trying to figure out what to do. And I just said, keep doing that. Which sounds simple, but it really isn't. There are lots of things that take their attention, and there are lots of things that are kind of not cool about being the kid who spends a lot of time practicing, or the kid who gets up on stage and draws attention to themselves. And so just to encourage them to keep going and keep putting themselves out there and keep working. Again, sounds simple, but that's the work,
Perfect your craft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We spoke at a scholars forum on the campus of North Carolina State University, about 300 plus undergraduate students, largely undergraduate, I'm assuming, 300 plus college students. And I always say that, dreams are mysterious things. We all have them, but they are like apparitions. They're elusive. Dreams are supported by goals. Goals are supported by plans, and plans really begin with going to the office every day, getting up every day and participating in a rigorous set of skills and practices and jobs and skill set building, all of this having to do with making your dream real. So that's a very good lesson, I think, for anyone.
It really is. I like the trickle down that you said, because youth a lot of times see big dreams, or not just youth, all of us have these big dreams, but it's hard to understand how planning
That's right.
is how you reach
right.
those dreams.
That's right. Plans leading to goals, and goals leading to our dreams. So, it's one thing to say you want to be a musician, or you want to be an artist, or you want to be famous, or maybe all three.
Right.
It's another thing to deal with the practical reality of making those dreams real and achieving them, and having a model, having a system in place that you're doing every day. So these are the things that I talk about. As I like to say, I still have dreams. Many of my dreams have come true, but not all of them. And I think that, one thing that's very sobering to me as I raise my young son, who's 3 years old, he already has dreams, And if his dream were to be a violinist like his father, and I hope not, but if that were his dream, I'm sobered by the fact, it's sobering to know that he could not start playing the violin at 5 years of age, which is only in 2 short years, if he were growing up where I grew up, because those programs are gone, those instruments discarded, those jobs, those occupations lost, and just as importantly, those children not being turned on, as they say. It's not that everyone has to be a musician or an artist. It's that the arts help us achieve our dreams. They are important. They are as important as our president says, arithmetic.
Right.
well, as our former president and current president have both used that word.
Right.
But remember the 3 R's?
Reading, writing,
Arithmetic.
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 Right,
That's
right. Well,
Forgot the A.
Yeah.
right, right. Well,
Yes.
there's something about resolve as well. And I think that I like to say when our politicians inevitably fail us, artists can lead the way. Artists can lead the way. And it is our job, I think, and this is what we've been doing. We've met with close to 1,000 Goldsboro children this morning already over the course of 2 assemblies, talking about these very things in a very dramatic, very theatrical, very self-esteem building way, you know. So I can talk about the performing arts, and we can talk about the performing arts and posture, and it actually means something because they see us do it.
Right.
And as I like to say to them, I will never ask you to do something I won't do myself.
Wow. Well, you know, I can only imagine how much seeing you both on stage and hearing what you've got to say and hearing about your experiences, how it affects the youth, especially those with hopes and dreams and aspirations
Yes.
of being in the music industry in whatever way.
Yeah.
In whatever way is
And,
right
and
for
not
them.
just the music industry, but in anything that they want to pursue. You know, I said this morning. Between your dreams will be something or someone. Are you prepared? If you are prepared, show me. You know, if you're 18 years old, show me 39. It's a wonderful thing. If you're 6, show me 12. You know, inevitably a 12-year-old knows to stand up a little straighter. In their mind, oh, this is what it means to be 12. And they're right. You know, they're right. So, you know, I'm biased, but I think the performing arts, we are uniquely qualified to positively influence and reinforce all of the academic pursuits. You know, unfortunately, we don't see music education as an important part of a total education, and it is.
It makes the whole job.
It is. Arts education, I shouldn't just say music, arts education, not the all dancing, the visual arts, so on and so on. Arts education really is a very important part of our total education.
I totally agree with you. You've convinced me.
We don't have to argue.
No arguing whatsoever.
Good.
Well, it sounds like I was going to ask you what are your goals for this whole program, but it sounds like I'm hearing what your goals are with crossing the state of North Carolina and sharing your hopes and dreams and what you've accomplished through your years, what you've learned, and what you hope to give back to our youth.
Very good.
Well,
That's great.
thank you both so much
Well,
for
we hope
being
we'll
here
see
with
you
us.
this evening.
Absolutely. Tonight is at 7?
It's at 7 o'clock.
It's 7
Yes.
o'clock here
And
at
we'll
the
have our
Paramount.
full band and some great performers from both high schools.
Yes.
And it's going to be really
That's
fun.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you all have a website?
We do.
We do. Well, there's Connecting Crossroads.
Right.
.com. There's also DBR, my initials, Daniel Bernard Roumain, dbrmusic.com.
And I have LaurelynDossett.com.
And
Perfect.
Yeah. And if you forget all these things, you can actually Google search The Collide.
The
And
Collide.
you'll find
Okay.
us. You can Google search DBR. You can Google search Laurelyn Dossett, and these things come up. And as like, you know, tonight is one of these rare events where both young people and older people can come. Parents can come with their children.
Of course.
You know, parents can come with their tweens or their teenagers, and these things are very, very rare. It is a concert, but it's also communion. You know, it's a time to sit next to someone that perhaps you don't know, and believe and share in ideas that really have to do with your community.
Well, we're excited to hear
Great.
and see what you all have experienced and what these songs have ended up being that tell the story about our state.
Well,
Yes.
I want to also say I'm just so excited to play in this theater because I know the history here and
Yeah.
I know the story of the rebuilding of this theater, and you can feel it when you walk in the building. So I'm really excited to just stand on that stage and sing.
It's a
tonight.
special place.
It really is.
It's
It
a
is.
special place in our community, and welcome.
Thank you. We're
Thank
glad to
you.
be here.
We're
Thank
glad
you.
to have you. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. We'll look forward to seeing you soon.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks.